Now in year number 7, it's a Yank on the Footy with Craig Wessels. Everybody sit back and enjoy a chat about the greatest game on the face of the earth. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I do hope that you will share the episode with your friends and family. Cheers!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 410 of A Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels, coming from Sandusky, Ohio, and thanks for listening. I do appreciate you tuning into this episode. In just a moment, I'm going to be joined by my mate, Myk Aussie, and we are going to be talking about our NFL previews for this year. We're going to talk about all things NFL, as well as talk about the first 4 finals games in the AFL this weekend as well. We have some crackerjack games that are coming up here. I do hope you'll give my podcast a follow over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. Get on that mailing list so that when new episodes come out, you can get those delivered to you just as soon as they're available to you. And also tell your friends and family about the podcast as well. Word of mouth is really the only way that I'm going to be able to grow the audience in Australia. So if you enjoy the show, I've got hundreds of interviews that I've done over the last 7 years. Lots of them are just wonderful discussions with people who love this game, who are so who so love talking about the game. And I'm so appreciative to them for sharing their thoughts about the game with me as well. So again, you can head over there, ayankonthefooty.com. You can follow me on all my socials at yank_on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. If you need to reach out to me at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com, you can certainly do that as well. If you need to reach out, I'd love to hear from you. Before we dive into my chat with Myk, I did want to take one small moment here and give a huge congratulations to somebody who I think is a very dear person. We've not met in person, but this lady is a significantly huge award-winning podcaster, and it's not the genre of podcast that maybe people, old guys might consider listening to, but I really love good storytelling, and this is a show that is called Tales from Three Corners, and it is a show that is done by a lady from Tasmania named Jack Ellum, who is not very good at mowing her lawn, from what she tells us on her podcast, The Word Count, as well. But Jack, these shows, if you've never listened to this show, if you're from Australia, she lives in Tasmania, I think these stories are phenomenal. They are anywhere between 5 to 8 minute snippets about this little community called Three Corners. And it's a little story about all of the residents that live in this community. And it's just a phenomenal way to tell stories about this community that she has created. And to me, it reminds me a little bit of the Andy Griffith Show here in the United States that was on from like 1960 through 1968. It's a very wholesome show. But the Andy Griffith Show had a half dozen main characters in it, but then a lot of small community members that came in and out of the show that you saw here and there and everywhere. But what Jack is doing, to me, anyway, is it reminds me of that show, because we're learning about all of the people that live in Three Corners through this show, and all the things that make them tick, and how they go about living their lives, and their troubles and their trials, and the things that go well for them, and how they remember things, and how they deal with good news and how they deal with bad news. But Jack just has secured a book deal. She announced that on the Word Count in the new episode that came out yesterday. And Jack, I just wanted to congratulate you, because it's absolutely phenomenal. Your work is tremendous. And quite frankly, I think we should also be able to bottle your laugh and sell it as well. Okay. That should be a ringtone on people's cell phones if they choose to have that. Or we should be able to incorporate that into a laugh track or something, because it's an infectious laugh. So, Jack, I'm beyond proud of what you've accomplished, and I'm so thrilled to see that your show is going to continue to grow in now book form. So congratulations. And if you haven't checked it out, and people of all ages, I think, would enjoy it. I think even children would enjoy most of the episodes as well, because they're very wholesome stories, in my opinion. So, Jack, congrats. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into my chat with Myk Aussie. We're going to talk the 2025 NFL season, as well as the finals for 2025 in the AFL. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to be joined by my mate, Myk Aussie. Myk, how are you doing on this beautiful day, sir?
Yeah, good mate. Wasn't much. No AFL on the weekend, but they had that big Legends game Thursday night and bit of CFL. But looking forward to the finals, of course, with Adelaide and the Crows and the Magpies first up.
Yeah, well, there was something, and again, those are names that I'm not necessarily very familiar with, but there was somebody that ended up in the hospital from the Legends game.
Wow.
Yeah, there was somebody got broken ribs from somebody that had his hair kind of dyed like a checkerboard. I'm not sure who this is, but it sounds like they've got a history going back to when they were actually still playing. So it just looked like this guy's thinking, why did I bother to come out and do this to get my ass kicked again? But
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
we've got a couple things going on in the news. You've got a couple things going on with your Crows, of course. Matt Crouch is having to step away from the game. At a relatively young age 30. One of your Crows there, Isaac Rankin's back in the country as well after a trip to Italy, I believe. So, what's your take on what's going on with your Crows right now as they head into finals?
Well, first of all, I wish Crouch was available because we'll talk later, but I think our midfield's a bit thin.
Yeah.
And of course, I did read how they bailed up Isaac Rankin at the airport when he arrived back, and he did the big apology press conference, which, well, he's going to do. So, yeah, you got to do that, I suppose. But I don't know, flying so far for a week, you get jet lagged and everything. But, well, he can't play for a while, if at all, this year. So we know that.
Yeah. So, did they tell him to come back, or did he figure like I just need to get away from a week, and then I need to come back and kind of formulate what I want to say at the airport because he knew they were going to show up there.
Yeah. No, they said they wanted him back for
Okay.
for this game to be there. So
Now,
I believe they wanted just him to go for a week.
well, let me ask you this question. As somebody who's played the game at a pretty high level, if he is suspended, meaning he's not allowed to play, can he still train and kind of act like a player from Collingwood and try to simulate that player in practice, in training?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
no.
it is kind of important for him to be back there to give those players who are going to be out there as good a quality a look as possible in order to get prepared to beat Collingwood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Because there's 23 guys there that are hoping to be able to show him their premiership medals and say, you dumbass, you could have had one of these too. You just kept your mouth shut.
Wow. So yeah, it's just a dumbass, eh? Just a massive brain cramp. What he did. It's just terrible.
And we've got another key retirement that was just announced. David Swallow, who's the last of the original Gold Coast Suns, has said he's stepping down at the end of this season. And Dimma did announce, and he's only played 7 games this year because of injury. And Dimma did say that he is going to be selected for the game out in Fremantle, which I think is kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool that he's doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. 247 games, 15 seasons. So yeah, absolutely. Gotta have him in for motivational reasons as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last time we talked, it's been a couple of weeks since you and I have chatted, but since then, Harley Reid signed on for 2 more years with the Eagles to 2020, I think, for 27 and 28, I think, or maybe 27, 28 seasons, I believe. So he'll be, I think, a restricted free agent after the 28 season. So, maybe then when he's about 24 years old, he'll be looking to possibly make a move. So, maybe he saw what, Wangani Malera did and thought, let's get some cash in pocket right now. And then I'll have a little bit more flexibility at still a relatively young age if I decide I want to move somewhere else. And maybe by then the Eagles will figure out how to actually win some games.
Well, I don't blame him re-signing in WA. It's a beautiful city, Perth.
Yeah.
And I think he's from Victoria somewhere, so he's probably enjoying getting away from Melbourne for a few years. But will be interesting to see what he does in 2 or 3 years' time and how much of a player he has developed in the next 2 years as well.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see that because, they're going to be undergoing some transition as well because I know a couple players, Oscar Allen's on the way out. Liam Ryan wants to leave as well.
Wow.
So I don't know if things are going to get any better with West Coast, but we're not talking about we're not talking about the wooden spoon winners right now. they may be adding on to their kitchen to have room for the rest of them. They're going to be getting soon. So let's
Yeah.
talk about your Crows in Collingwood, the first game up this weekend. What are you thinking on this one?
Oh man, the Crows were 9.5-point favourite. They're now 8.5-point favourite. I damn well hope they win. I'd probably bet the Collingwood to cover that. I am extremely worried, I'll be honest. Rankin is a massive loss, our second best player behind Dawson.
Right.
I'm a little bit. I've got the whole teams written down here, and I'm a little bit worried, as my dad agreed and a couple others. I'm a bit worried about our on-ball depth. We rely on Dawson too much. Is Berry and Saligo, both of them in the middle together? Is that risky? I think so. They're up and down, those sort of players. So if we don't win it out of the middle, we could be in big trouble. So I'll take the Crows to win, but I'm very, very concerned. And you know who Melbourne, the AFL, would want to win? They want Collingwood to win to keep their revenue up. And I should never say that. I would have never said this 5 years ago, but with the stupid decisions the AFL have made this year, nothing would surprise me. No, there's no match fixing, but yeah, the crowd and the umpires sure can influence the result. We all know that.
Right. And you know, I'm going with the Crows to win this one also, and I think it's going to be a relatively close game. I think I tipped them to win by about 11 points. But you know, you're also going to not have Joshua Shelley back yet either. He's not. They've said he's not playing this week either. So they're, you know, I read where it said Max McElhaney may be coming in for him, you know, to replace Rankin in this situation. They may be moving him up forward. But you know, you got Jeremy Howe is going to be out for the Pies. So, you know, the Pies defense against the three talls for your Crows is really going to be scuffling to match up against them. You know, I don't think he's much of a defender, and he's probably much too slow. But do you consider, just because he has the size, do you consider possibly bringing in a Mason Cox and just say, you know, try to chase some tall guy around the park and keep him from, you know, taking a mark?
Yeah, that's a bit of a rumor, isn't it? That they might bring in Mason Cox, the big American. Oh, I don't know about that. Depends how he's been going.
Yeah.
How's a great player.
Yeah.
But I still reckon Fogarty's overrated. Phil Thorpe's amazing. Walker's good. So it's going to be interesting. But the crowd, the umpiring, oh, man, 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was pretty crazy what the crowd was up to. They were too one-sided there for a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you know, I guess if you're going to be a Crows supporter, you have to think, if they're going to give Nick Dacos a free kick because he fell down, then knock him down. Don't just bump into him and have him fall down like he's a soccer player. You know, if you're going to give up the free kick, make him earn the free kick. And I'm not advocating violence there, but if you know, there was some really ticky-tack stuff that went on in that game. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that's crept into our game. People playing for frees and faking it. And Rankin did one himself the other week, so I can't stand that. But talking Nick Dacos, the best player in the competition, and they start him on the bench in the All-Australian team. What a load of crap that is. And Jeremy Cameron, captain. Like, Dawson's a captain of the team that finished top, and they got to go off and do some stupid decision of having Jeremy Cameron captain. Like, another dumbass thing that the AFL doing.
Well,
anyway, whatever.
Do you think they did that just so they could get the photograph of his expression, which, you know, he gives those great expressions like, "Are you serious? Really?"
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it a bit lately with Hawkins and Buddy Franklin, some of these long-time legends being named captain, but it's still a load of crap.
Yep. All righty, we're going to head to Cardia, the MCG. I'm sorry, it's not going to be in Geelong. The Cats hosting, in quotes, the Brisbane Lions. I'm wondering if, you know, is third time going to be the charm, or should we say it's the fourth time going to be the charm, since they also lost in last year's prelim to them. You know, Cats are really, really healthy. Although I did see a couple rumblings on Twitter today from somebody in Geelong who said that Jack Martin pulled out of training today, and they thought maybe Reece Stanley had a little bit of a hamstring issue as well. I've not seen anything confirmed on that, but I'm thinking they're going to figure out how to get over the hump at the right time against Brisbane. In this case, I'm going with the Cats to win by 9 points. I just think they're and except for those two right there, I think they're a relatively healthy squad. But I'm not sure what they do in the ruck in this situation because their second ruck, Toby Conway was the only guy on their injury list at this point in time, and he's not played a game at the AFL level all year.
Wow. Yeah, look, another good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could go 0-4 this week. Like, I really think they could all be close.
Right.
Cats are favoured by 6.5. Lucky Nil, maybe playing. He's important. Look, I think Cats will win, but again, you just never know with the Lions. They can really play well. June the 20th at GMHBA, they beat the Cats by 41 points.
Yes, they did.
That's a big margin down there in Geelong.
Yes, it is. That was a terrible game. That was awful. That was awful. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just gonna say, in Chris Scott we trust. Yeah, that's all I can say. I'm gonna make some Australian American money where it says "In God We Trust." I'm just gonna put in Chris. With the beard, he kind of looks like an old president of the United States. And Chris Scott We Trust there. Kind of got that Abe Lincoln vibe going on there, if you will.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, some great on bowlers in this game, isn't there?
Oh man,
your mate Bailey Smith's had a massive year.
Yeah,
Good on him coming back from that knee injury.
Yeah,
very impressive.
And this is a 5:40 a.m. start also, so my it's gonna be right down to the deadline at the start of the school day as to when this game's gonna be ending. So oh gosh, it's gonna be rough. I mean, I hope they're ahead by about 6 or 8 goals so I can just say, okay, I can kind of it's 5 minutes left. They've got this in the bag. But I know that's not going to be the case. So it's just going to be the longest few hours, until I can turn the game back on during my lunchtime. So
what do? You watch on the laptop at work, do you?
No, we have what's called a Promethean. It's actually it's like a television, but it's like a touchscreen computer. It's a huge screen. So I can run, I'll run like the Watch AFL app through there. I've actually got that on there. I'll watch games on that. I mean, heck, I've got the Willow app, a tab open on that. So I just go to run the Wi-Fi through there and watch it there. And
right.
So it's up on a big screen there when I'm watching it. So it works out pretty well.
Right.
Yep. So then we head up to NG Stadium for the GWS Giants hosting Hawthorn. And what are you thinking on this one?
Oh, another one. Really could go either way.
Oh, absolutely.
Giants are favoured by 3.5. I believe Jesse Hogan's going to play. That's what Damien Barrett thought. So if they get some of their good players back, I'm going to pick the Giants. Again, just a total home field pick. But I would not be surprised if Hawks won by 3 or 4 goals as well. Yeah, They beat them last time at UTAS in Tasmania.
Yeah.
So yeah, another beauty, mate. Absolute ripper.
Yep, I'm going with the Giants also. It sounds like Stringer may be back also.
Right.
Which, as much of an enigma as he is, that's also a guy that could easily just pop off for 5 goals and not break a sweat doing it if he does it.
Yeah.
And take a lot of pressure off of Toby Green.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other green fella in the middle, he's good. Giants got good on bowlers.
Yeah.
Hogan and Stringer, you're dead right. If those two fire, it could be an easy win. So, yeah, looking forward to that one as well. I hope they get a good crowd out there, but it doesn't hold that many people really out there in Greater Western Sydney.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why the if it's a smaller stadium, why didn't the league move the GWS game to the SCG? Because it seats more people. I mean, there's precedent for. I'm kidding, but there's precedent for that, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, we seem to do that all the time now.
Oh, you're still dirty on the Cats at the MCG, aren't you? I've told you my thoughts. The more games they get there, more chance of winning the big one.
I know, but I also look at it thinking, the more games you have at home, the more you're more likely you are to win at home, which gets you there. So it's like it's chicken and egg. Yeah,
of course.
Yep. Yeah. Which do you notice? Have you ever seen anybody actually have an omelet with chicken in it? I've never seen anybody have a chicken omelet before. I mean, you see it with bacon or ham or sausage, but never a chicken omelet.
No, you're right there.
So we got our last. Where the hell did that come from? Our last game of the weekend. Fremantle hosting Gold Coast. And do you think that Gold Coast is still just kicking themselves for that second half against Port Adelaide, going 3-3 to 6-4, and dropping out of a double chance? I mean, they would have probably gone to play your Crows in Adelaide, but they would have been playing for a double chance though.
Yes.
Do you think they're just kicking themselves for having allowed that to happen?
Absolutely. Of course you want to finish in the top 4.
Yeah.
This is a tough one, isn't it? Dockers favoured by 11.5, so that's the biggest margin of the week.
Uh-huh.
And I think this would be my best bet, Dockers to win. I think out of the 4 games, the Dockers win, I think, is the safest pick.
Yeah.
But you never know. Both teams got great on-bowlers, as we know.
Yeah.
Suns' first time ever in the finals after so many years. Oh, man.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. How many finals games has Justin Longmuir won? And how many games has Damien Hardwick won?
Yes.
I'm going with the Suns to win this, and because of Dimma.
Okay.
I'm going with the Suns because I think Dimma is gonna will these guys across the line here. I just have a funny feeling that's gonna be the case. So we're gonna see what it would be. Whoever's losing the other games playing GWS and Gold Coast then the following week.
Look, the Dockers, they're all over the place, aren't they? Their best is very good. Yes. And then they just sometimes just go defensive and they're terrible. So they really got to attack the play and get Big Jackson playing well again. He's had a good year. But I just think they're a better team. But again, straight out home field pick. If it was on the Gold Coast, I would have picked the Suns.
And I know they won 11 or 12 out of their last 14 games. I mean, they finished very strong. Don't get me wrong, and I know there are Fremantle supporters right now that are either under their breath cursing me for tipping the Suns, but I don't know why. I just think that the Suns are maybe more of to paraphrase Marty McFly from the first Back to the Future movie, Fremantle, you are my density, as opposed to my destiny, as he said to his future wife there in the show. So. Yeah, I'm going with the Suns to win this, and I just have a funny feeling that they're going to reward the league for getting in now by actually winning at least one game in the finals.
All right. Well, we agree to disagree on that one.
Yep. No, that's okay. I mean, that's perfectly okay. I mean, we've done that a few times this year, but now we have also the NFL to get into this year as well, and talking about our picks for who we think are going to win, the divisions, who are going to be the playoff finalists, and who's going to win the whole shooting match. Okay, so do you want to start with the AFC or the NFC, and have you kind of run through who your division winners are and who's going to win your wild cards? And again, if you're following the NFL, there are 32 teams in the NFL, 7 teams from each the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference make the finals, the playoffs. You have the 4 division winners, and then you have 3 wild card teams, the 3 that have the best records after the division winners. And the division, you could have a division winner that has a worse record than does one of the wild card teams. Because I know a few years ago, the team out of the NFC South I think it was the Tampa Bay, that had a losing record and got to host a home playoff game against a team that won 4 more games than they did because they won their division.
Yeah, look, it's crazy sometimes, and there's some really strong divisions, and then there's some very weak divisions. But I've got their win totals written down for each team.
Okay.
We'll start with the NFC East.
Okay.
Eagles favored with 11.5 wins. They had 14 wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be between them and the Washington Commanders, but the Eagles Man, they got a very strong lineup, the reigning champions. Then I'll go to the NFC North. This is a great division. You got the Lions, 10.5 wins predicted. The Packers 9.5. The Bears and the Vikings are 8.5. So that is a really good division, with the Packers looking good. Just got the fella from the Cowboys. So I think the Lions will hold on to that one, but the Vikings and the Packers could also challenge for the NFC North.
Okay. Well, let me jump in with mine here real quick, because I'm going with the Eagles to win the NFC East. I've got the Commanders getting one of the wild card spots. And now here's where I'm taking kind of a crazy look here. So we're about to blow through all of the wild cards right here. This is one of my crazy picks right here. I'm actually picking the Chicago Bears to win the NFC North this year.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm picking the Bears to win, and the Lions and the Packers to earn a wild card spot. So I've got the Vikings on the outside looking in this year.
Well, it will depend now their new quarterback, McCarthy, whatever, from
McCarthy, from Michigan.
From Michigan. We'll see how he goes. He did his knee last year, but I don't know. Some people are not that hot on him coming out of college, so that'll be interesting to see.
So there's the three wild card spots out of the way, and then for the NFC South, I've got the Buccaneers winning that one. The Saints coming in last place. I mean, that to me, that's the worst division in the NFL right now. Actually, in the NFC, I should say. And then I've got the Rams winning the NFC West. So those are my 7 clubs that I've got making the NFC playoffs. So who do you have in the NFC South and West?
Yeah, look, I'll go for the Bucks. They've had a good couple of years. They're favourite with 9.5 wins. The Falcons are on the improve, 7.5 wins. Panthers 6.5. Saints 4.5. That's what the under/over is on the predicted win. So Saints are terrible. Panthers are average. Wow, NFC West, very interesting. 49ers is picked to be one of the big movers. They had 6 wins last year, and they're predicted is 10.5 this year. Rams at 9.5, Seahawks and Cardinals both at 8.5. Look, I might go for the 49ers to win that. The Rams are good, but we'll see how Matt Stafford goes with his back. So
yes, exactly.
Interesting. I think I'll agree with you on the wild cards. Commanders, Packers, and I'll go Vikings as well. Or
Bears.
maybe Seahawks. Yeah, maybe Rams or Seahawks.
Okay. So let's move over to the AFC then. How about you tell us about the AFC East and the AFC North?
All right. Well, you got the Bills, been very good for a few years now, but haven't made it to the big game. Their favourite, 11.5 wins, and then Dolphins 8.5. Patriots are moving up to predicted 8.5 wins. They had 4 wins last year, so I'll go with the Bills again, absolutely. Dolphins are disappointing, aren't they? They should be better than they are. And then the AFC North, wow, your division.
Yeah.
Well, your Browns had 3 wins last year, and they're predicted to get 4.5.
Woohoo!
Bengals 9.5, Steelers 8.5, and of course the Ravens are favoured with 11.5 wins on the under/over. So I'll go for the Ravens, but the Bengals to challenge them. And I like the Bengals, absolutely. I like their quarterback, and they could be on the up after a bit of a disappointing year last year.
Okay, well, I agree with you with the Buffalo Bills. I got the Bills winning the division, then the Jets and the Patriots finishing behind them, and Miami at the bottom. And then I've got the Ravens winning the AFC North. I've got Pittsburgh finishing second, Cincinnati third. I think Pittsburgh's defense is better than Cincinnati's. But I have both Pittsburgh and Cincinnati as wild card teams this year. So I mean, the AFC, to me, the AFC North and the NFC North are arguably the 2 best divisions in the NFL, I think. It's
yes.
I think that those are, you can maybe make an argument for the AFC West. But I still think the AFC North is just a better overall division right now. I think my Browns are going to win a few games this year, but it's still all about figuring out, do they have the quarterback of the future on their roster right now? Supposedly they are very excited about this kid out of Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, but he's not, we've had a short 6 foot tall quarterback that we brought in as the number 1 pick in the draft in Baker Mayfield, who took us to the playoffs a few years ago, and then they ran his ass out of town. It's like, are you friggin' kidding me? To go sign, I'm just going to say, to go sign a therapist, and I'm going to leave it at that. A therapist.
I dropped my towel again to Sean Watson.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I'm just, that is just, and knowing what he had going on in his world, how they did not just say, we want nothing to do with this, is beyond me.
Oh, no kidding.
How they just didn't say, I want nothing to do with this man's character playing football for my team that I own, that I'm going to ultimately end up paying $250 million to. You got to be out of your goddamn mind.
Your team was on the up, and all they needed was a good quarterback, and then look what they did.
Exactly.
It was risky, he was good, but he hadn't played in a while.
Yeah.
And oh, mate, your team. Exactly. What do you think of the Sanders kid, Shedeur Sanders?
When the first game he played in the preseason, he did a decent job. I don't think they gave him a whole lot of the playbook to work with. I think eventually he could be okay. Do I think he's a franchise guy? I don't know. I haven't seen him enough with. I certainly haven't seen him enough with the guys who would be out there on the field, as the like the first offense or that sort of thing. It's kind of funny. The last preseason game, every one of the 5 linemen that were playing in front of him in that preseason game, the next day they were cut from the team. So you had 5 guys out there that were playing for their careers who ultimately did not end up getting a job. That were trying to keep him upright, and he got his butt kicked that game. Yeah. The one saving grace is they've got a couple first-round picks going into next year. I'm kind of hoping that Dylan Gabriel pans out, or maybe he pans out. But I think both of them are going to start games before the year's up. Because Joe Flacco's 40 years old. He's not going to play all 17 games this year. It's just not. It's not going to happen. I mean, he's not Scott Pendlebury.
Mate, okay. Have you ever thought seriously of swapping teams?
No, I will never do that. Okay. I will not do that. I think I've said this in other things here, but if the Baltimore Ravens used to be the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if you know that.
Yes,
because the team moved.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I've said this. I respect the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, the way that team has been run in my lifetime. They have done things the right way. That team is very well run. Have they won every year? No, they haven't. But that team is run well. Okay. The Browns have been kind of like the island of misfit toys. They had some great years back in the 80s and even a couple years into the 90s before they moved to Baltimore. But they have just, they've shot themselves in the toes so many times, they're running out of toes on their feet. But I always have said that, if my first wife owned an NFL team, I would sit in the owner's box with her entire family to cheer against the Ravens. That's how much I hate them. I hate the Ravens. I would not. I mean, my first game I ever went to was in 1970, which was San Diego Chargers and Kansas City Chiefs. So I was a big fan of the San Diego Chargers as a little kid because I saw John Hadl throw 4 touchdowns in that game. So I was a big John Hadl fan. But I've been a Cleveland fan my whole life. I mean, I'm not going to switch allegiances there. I'm in it for the long haul. And I've joked, I've said, I was a year old when they won the NFL championship in 1964. I said, I was in diapers. Wow. I was in diapers the last time they won a championship. And it's very likely I'll be back in diapers before they win another one.
Well, that relates to my nickname for your team. I often say I did a Cleveland Browns in my pants.
Yeah, I know. So again, I've got Buffalo winning the AFC East. I've got Baltimore winning the North, and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati finishing second and third and securing wild card spots. So tell us about the AFC South and then the AFC West.
All right, well, the South won't take long because it's pretty average division. Mm-hmm. Texans are favoured, 9.5 wins. Yeah, I think they'll get it done. Colts are on the up. Jags, Well, they're predicted to be a mover. They only had 4 wins last year. They're
Yeah.
predicted 7.5, and the Titans are rebuilding. So I think the Texans will get that one done. Colts are on the up. Now the AFC West, my division. It's a good one. Chiefs are favoured again with 11.5 wins. I think you have to stick with them, but I will go with the Chargers and both the Broncos to make wild cards. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that happened last year. Broncos 9.5 predicted win. Same with Chargers. Raiders 6.5. They're up a bit from 4 wins last year.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the Bengals, the Chargers, and the Broncos as my 3 wild cards.
Okay. Okay. So for the AFC South, I am also going with the Texans to win that one. I've got the Jags and the Colts coming in afterwards, and then the Titans with their rookie quarterback, taking his lumps and learning his way around the NFL. Now, I have the Kansas City Chiefs finishing second in the AFC West.
You got the Broncos first?
I have the Broncos winning the AFC West this year, as much as I hate to do that because I can't stand the Broncos either because of John Elway.
Wow.
Guy broke my heart so many times. But yeah, I'm going with the Broncos. I think their defense is very solid this year. I've got them winning the division and the Chiefs finishing as the runner-up in the division, getting the third wild card there. Okay. And then the Chargers in third, and then the Raiders in fourth place.
Wow. Well, my friend from Calgary, Aussie Canadian Joe Madden, unfortunately she got let go from Sports Grid like a few others did recently. Yeah. She interviewed Sean Payton one-on-one last week. Like, what a great get, because Sean Payton's daughter used to work at Sports Grid. So she got 30 minutes. Yeah, she got 30 minutes with Sean Payton, and she did a great job, asked very good questions. She asked the question and shut up, not like too many people talk too much when they interview someone.
Yeah.
You want to hear the person getting interviewed. You don't want to hear the host, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so she did a great job. So check that out on Joe Madden Sports with the coach Sean Payton. I just hope Bo Nix doesn't have second-year blues. You often see that in a quarterback. I don't think he will, because he had a lot of games in college, so he came into the NFL more experienced than a lot of these quarterbacks who hardly play at all in college sometimes. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
We got to improve our running backs. Singleton's back as a linebacker. He played in Calgary, then the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles. He was playing very well at the Broncos till he did his knee. So yeah, I'm confident. I'm thinking we should make the playoffs again.
So who are your final 4? Who's playing in the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game, and who's winning the Super Bowl?
All right. Well, I'm not sure this will happen, but I have to pick the Broncos. I'll say the Broncos versus the Bills.
Okay.
And I'll pick the Bills to finally make it to a Super Bowl again after those 4 losses in a row.
Well, and before you go on, do you want to place the initial bet on the over-under of how many inches of snow that game will have, whether it's played in Denver or in Buffalo? Because there's going to be snow. Doesn't matter where it's played, there's going to be snow.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it, playing in lots of snow, but it makes it a great spectacle. Yeah. It really does.
It does, yep.
Yeah. The NFC, well, I just hate this because their fans are an absolute mob of flogs. Worst fans out of any sport has got to be the Philadelphia Eagle fans. They are big turncoats. They turn on their players. They are terrible.
They threw snowballs at Santa Claus.
I don't mind their players. The big Aussie, Matalulu, whoever you say his name, he's doing well. Jalen Hurts, I like him as a quarterback. They're just too deep, they reckon. Eagles,
I think so.
Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. And I hope it's against the Lions. I hope the Lions play well again this year, but I think the other one's a bit up in the air who the Eagles might play in the NFC title game.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills to beat the Ravens in the AFC Championship game.
Right.
And the Eagles to beat the Rams in the NFC, and I've got Buffalo beating Philadelphia in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I think it's Buffalo's year. I think they're going to finally get over the hump this year.
I hope so. Why are you so hot on the Rams?
I just think that there's a lot of experience on that side still. It's still a very good defensive side. Matthew Stafford, if he's healthy, and again, that's a big if. He can completely fall apart, and they could end up missing the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a distinct possibility. But he's healthy. I just think that he's a solid enough vet. I trust him more than I do the Caleb Williams in Chicago. I think I still trust him right now more than Chase Daniels kid in Washington. Maybe Jared Goff with Detroit could possibly get there. And I did my tips before the Micah Parsons trade last week. So maybe Green Bay ends up finishing a little bit higher. I don't know, but I Tampa Bay maybe, but again, it's still. It's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Is playing in the NFC South going to get that team ready enough to go compete for a Super Bowl spot?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, look, that Micah Parsons trade, you shouldn't trade one of the best players in the league.
Yep.
But talking about the Cowboys, I've started watching that Netflix new series, America's Team.
Uh-huh.
And it starts with the Cowboys. It starts when Jerry Jones bought them. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I think I've watched 3 episodes already. It's really well done.
Wait till they get to the Herschel Walker trade.
Yes. Yes, I've seen that too.
That's what set up their Super Bowl wins. Back in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And I'm a big fan of Troy Aikman. I love his commentary on Fox. So his special comments with, he's fantastic. So really good show. Really enjoying it.
You ready for your 5 terms here tonight?
Oh, here we go. Yep.
Okay. And this, one of these, the first one you're either going to get it or you're not going to get it. Okay. What is a lollipop lady? What's a lollipop lady?
Is it a statue of some sort?
Nope.
No, don't know.
Okay. It says it's one of the parents who would supervise like the crossing zones across the street near a school.
Yes, makes sense.
Okay.
Not widely used term, but yes, when you said it now,
okay,
I have definitely heard that one.
Okay.
Damn it, I'm 0-1.
Okay, what does it mean? Mean as bird shit.
Mean as bird shit?
Yep. Mean as bird shit.
Just to be really mean, I suppose.
Yeah, miserly, stingy with money. Yep. Well, we're gonna give you a
mean
half credit on that.
Okay, mean as bird shit.
Yep.
I haven't really heard that one. I just kind of guessed it. I haven't really heard that. But like I said, different parts of Australia have different sayings.
And let's be honest, I'm using. I found a couple websites that I'm supplementing that book that I have. So some of these, folks, you'll have to let me know if you've heard these as well, because I'm not sure if these places that I'm getting these from are actually credible or not. Okay, so I could, they just could be blowing smoke up my ass right now and say, let's see who comes up with this stupid thing and comes to visit us, and they go, where the hell did that one come from? Yeah, bloody Seppo.
Have you come across Seppo online?
No, I've seen that. Yeah, I have seen that one, but yeah, in the lists. Yeah, yep. Okay. Standing like a bandicoot on a burnt ridge.
Oh, what are you doing to me this week? Standing like a bandicoot on a burnt bridge, did you say?
On a burnt ridge, RIDGE, yep.
On a bird ridge.
Burnt, like it's been scorched. Yeah. Yep, on a burnt ridge.
Standing like a bandicoot on a burnt ridge.
Mm-hmm.
No idea. Totally got me.
Okay. The feeling of being alone or isolated or vulnerable.
Oh, my God. That's complicated, isn't it? That's not a good one.
Hey,
someone overthought that crap.
We are at finals time. The the difficult, the cream rises to the top. The tough terminology rises to the top here. So we have to come up.
Bad.
Yeah. So okay. What's a Darrow?
A
DERO. A Darrow.
Oh yeah, I got this one.
Okay.
Short for derelict, like a
Yep.
fucking idiot.
Okay. So now, knowing what you've seen over the last couple of weeks since the season has ended, what player that's been delisted is the most unfortunate Darrow when it comes to footy at this point in time? Which is the player you think, oh, that sucks that he got delisted?
Willie Rioli, because I like he's entertaining.
Okay.
He's the Gatorade boys always in the news.
Well, wasn't he retiring though, or did they delist him?
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, he's okay. Now, I think you're going to get this. You may not have heard this one, but I think if you think about this one, you're going to definitely get this one.
All right.
Like a bucket of prawns in the sun.
Yeah, basically, like, it stinks. The food goes off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So you got. I'm going to give you 2.5 out of 5 on that one. Okay.
Oh, I think you're a bit generous on the half.
I'm curbing the test here because I gave you some that are maybe more either more obscure or just absolute bullshit. Okay, one of the two. I'm not sure which. Now, I have one other question that I want to ask you before we wrap up here.
Yeah.
How excited are you to hear about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's engagement?
Mate, you know what? I used to think she would have been the most high maintenance girlfriend. Like years ago, she just seemed like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But no, I think she's matured. I think she's a brilliant singer, brilliant performer.
Right.
I like her songs. And the thing I really liked about it, like, sure, Kelsey's a Chiefs and I don't like the Chiefs, but he's a pretty cool guy. And the way that he went back old school and just said he wanted to get her and he chased her and he did it legitimate. Mm-hmm. Sure, he had some help because Andy Reid is mates with Taylor Swift's dad, right? So Andy Reid helped set him up.
Okay.
But good on him going back old school and getting her, eh? So, yeah good on him.
Yeah.
God, they'd have a lot of money between them, eh?
Now, here's the thing. I actually, this was the reason why I tipped the Broncos to win your division. Because I think the wedding planning is going to be a little bit of a distraction for Travis Kelce, and he's going to drop a game-winning touchdown in a game and cause them to end up finishing in second place in the AFC West. Okay,
so.
That's what I think is going to happen. That's one of the reasons why I tip your Broncos to finish in first place this year.
Well, I hope you're right. Yeah, it gets a bit annoying when they show her in the box all the time.
I know. Yeah. Well, you know what? They can't not do that if she's going to be there. And who knows? Maybe there's some sort of a contractual thing that her agent has, and her people have worked out with the NFL that. That she's going to be on camera 20 times a game.
Man, she sure made him a lot of money in that last 2 years. Absolutely, she did. Bringing that audience of her audience to the NFL and more younger girls watching.
Now,
wow.
I hope they have a lifetime of happiness. I hope that they're married for 50 years and they grow old together. But wouldn't you want to be the attorney that's filling out that prenup just because?
Oh my God!
Knowing you're going to get a percentage.
she's a hell of a smart business lady. She just bought all her music back, so now she owns her music, and good on her. No, I'm a fan of hers. Like I said, she used to annoy me a bit, but she's a star. Good on her.
My daughter's a huge Taylor Swift fan. I might have heard one or two of her songs, but that's probably about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go, Myk, where can people find your work and what have you got going on now, sir?
All right, Myk Edmonton Cricket TV. Wow, we uncover some stories up here. Too much corruption, dishonesty amongst the committee members of Edmonton, Cricket Canada, and other provinces. So there's some big stories going there. But I'll just end on this note. I was saying last night, the 3 words I think I hate the most living in Canada, and it stemmed from the USA, and they use it up here as well. The quarterback controversy. I
Uh-huh.
just can't stand it when someone says quarterback controversy. You don't have a wide receiver controversy. You don't have a running back controversy. And yesterday in the Elks games, maybe the coach left the quarterback in because he didn't want a bloody quarterback controversy. So
Yeah.
it really annoys me, mate. It so annoys me. I send shivers through me when I hear these media people talk about a bloody quarterback controversy. It's just a position. I know it's the most important position, but
Right,
these
right.
guys are treated like, unbelievable, man.
Well, I mean, the way quarterbacks are treated nowadays is significantly different than the way they were treated, 30 years ago.
Yeah, you
Or
can't
even
touch them
or even,
now.
even,
Yeah.
you go back 40 years, you go back to when I was a teenager. I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of Terry Bradshaw getting sacked by guy that played for the Browns named Joe Turk. His nickname was Turkey Jones,
Wow.
and he tackled Terry Bradshaw and literally, with holding him, flipped him, and basically slam dunked him into the turf on his head.
Wow.
I mean, just and he flopped like it was a fish that they brought on board and whacked over the head with a stick to stun it to put it out of its misery before they processed it and put it in the freezer parts of some big old ship somewhere, because he just that sort of stuff right there. You'd have players getting removed from the league permanently for doing something like that nowadays. But it's
Oh,
and again, I'm not advocating for hurting anybody, but the fact that we don't allow players to actually get tackled anymore because, oh no, they're the face of the league. Well, I'm
yeah.
sorry, they ought to be able to be tackled.
Yeah, it's a
It's
joke.
yeah, exactly.
Especially like Patrick Mahomes. You can't touch him.
Yeah,
Yeah. But anyway,
exactly.
I'll just end on this note. Like, people in Australia, NFL to me is the best game to watch on TV. I absolutely love it. So we go from the preseason that's absolutely crap because so many of the guys playing preseason don't even get on the roster.
Right, right.
So it goes from absolute crap preseason to round one, week one.
Yeah.
It's starting. I love it, mate. Absolutely
Well,
love it.
and that's one of the things, for those of you who maybe don't follow the NFL all that closely, when teams are beginning training, they will. It's not like in the AFL where the AF you compile your list in October and November, and that's your list as you begin training until the season starts in March. In the
Yeah.
NFL, you're bringing in roughly, you'll have 90 players on your roster, on your list, and by the time the season begins, you have to cut that down to 53 players. But then you can also have, I believe it's a dozen players on your practice squad who get to come in and practice with the team. And depending on the rules allow you to occasionally bring up those players to play in the games if you've got a certain number of injuries. So let's say if you got 3 quarterbacks on your roster or on your list, and you have a 4th one on your practice squad, and 2 of your quarterbacks are hurt, well, your 3rd quarterback is probably going to be the one that starts, but then you need to have somebody to back them up so that quarterback that's on the practice squad can be brought onto the active roster to actually participate in that game if need be, and they can be there, I think, for 4 weeks, I believe. But then
Wow.
also, also, if your team has 2 quarterbacks that are injured and they're going to be out for the year, for example, and you need another quarterback, you can go to another team's practice squad and sign a player off of that practice squad and put them on your active team. So
Yes.
you can bring in players from other other teams' practice squads and basically give them more of a full-time job where they're getting paid more and an opportunity to play in the games rather than just participating in the practices in terms of preparing the team for their weekly games. So it is a little bit
Yeah.
different from the AFL, but I understand where a lot of people will complain about the amount of standing around during NFL games, because there's a lot of waiting for action to happen. And that's one of the things that I like about the AFL is the fact that the ball is, for the most part, moving constantly.
Yeah,
The
but
the
you know
game's in
what?
constant motion.
the NFL, the replays, the television replays are absolutely fantastic. Like
That's true.
it's brilliant to watch on
Yeah.
TV. And the big plays, the big plays are so exciting. And
Yeah.
we used to have more of that in the AFL years ago.
Mhm. All right. Well, hey, Myk, it has been great chatting with you. We are a couple minutes over where we planned on being, but still not too terribly bad tonight. I think it's going to be a good NFL season, but I think I'm not too worried about that yet because it's going to be one hell of a first round of AFL playoffs.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I hope you're okay. I hope you were all okay on the weekend with no AFL. I suppose you got to watch the AFLW, or as Sam Newman calls it, the awful.
Oh God, don't even go there. I saw that and I thought about mentioning that and I'm thinking I don't even want to bring that up. I was like, just
You didn't watch any?
no. I mean, what he said, what Sam
Oh.
Newman said.
He's funny. Yeah.
I know he's funny, and certainly if you want to have that opinion, that is certainly your prerogative. But ultimately, knowing what we know about the media in Australia, as you've talked about many times, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be vivisecting him for that comment as well.
He's called it the awful a few times. This is a joke, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Like I said, they just expanded to 18 teams way too quick. That's
I will
my
agree
big
there.
issue with
I
it.
will agree there. I think they got to 18 too quickly. I think they should have
Yeah.
maybe brought in 2 teams a year for a few years, and maybe
Of course.
maybe 3 or 4 years from now you get to a full 18 because you've then had
Yeah.
another few years of young women being able to play at those 16, 17, 18-year-old levels to build up their game to then backfill those lists on those clubs.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All
Well, hey,
right,
mate,
good talking to you, man.
great
Catch you
chatting
later.
with you. You bet. You bet. All right, man. Cheers.
See ya.
All right, there are our tips for this weekend and our tips for the NFL season. We both have the Eagles, I believe, in the Super Bowl. I went with the Bills to beat them. He's got the Eagles winning again this year. Yeah, the Eagles, that's a team that back in the 1970s, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. So Eagles fans can be a little bit surly. And I've joked about them all the time where, remember we talked about, with the Cats playing, home finals at the MCG. I said, if you did that to an NFL team and said, well, your opponent's stadium is larger, so we're going to, we want more butts in seats, so we're going to go ahead and play your home playoff game at their stadium. Eagles fans would go to that stadium and burn it to the ground before they allowed that to happen. That's just what would happen. Okay, so folks, remember, you can find everything about the podcast over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. I do hope you'll sign up on the mailing list, okay? If you really want to help out the show, tell your friends about it, share a link to the episode. If you are really interested in the NFL, if you're just checking it out, I have a number of episodes from the podcast that we talked about over the last couple of years on why NFL fans would love the AFL and why AFL fans would love the NFL. And I've done interviews with footy fans in Australia who love the NFL and Americans who love the AFL talking about the NFL. I also happen to have a great interview that I did a couple of years ago with Darren Bennett. It's a great ambassador for both games, one of the greatest punters in NFL history. You go back and those start back with like episode 103 and then 199 and 223 and then 242 to 245. And then there are a few that sprinkle in after that as well. And you can find those by searching on my website, ayankonthefooty.com. Just go to the search bar and type in NFL and it should give you all of those episodes if you want to check out those interviews about people who love this game. So if you're thinking about exploring the NFL now that footy is winding down, I know you're going to get a few games there. I think the Rams are coming to Melbourne next year to play a game. Glad they're not going to Sydney because the way the ground looked at Sydney this year, I don't think any NFL team would want to play on that surface. Hopefully they get that fixed for next year and get it fixed for cricket as well. But folks, share the episodes with your friends and family. A review would be fantastic as well. You can do that right on my website. That would be a huge help. Gives me that credibility with all of you in Australia for your game that I'm so appreciative of you sharing with me. All right. Look out for one another, folks. Check up on your friends. Make sure they're okay. If you need to talk to somebody, do not hesitate to reach out. Okay. Even if it's reaching out to me and sending me an email at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com or dropping me a note on Messenger or on Twitter, a message that way, or on Instagram. Twitter or Facebook would probably be better options because I don't check Instagram quite as often. You could even find me on LinkedIn and send me a message there. The world's a much better place with you in it. So if you need to talk to somebody and you can't find anybody, reach out to me. Okay. And those numbers are always in the show notes of the podcast as well. All right. And again, Jack, congratulations on your book deal. So richly deserved. Check out Tales from Three Corners if you haven't done so already. If you need to get like a palate cleansing of podcasts and that sort of thing, you can't do better than Tales from Three Corners. And I do hope you'll check it out. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 410 of A Yank on the Footy. Don't forget, you can reach me at Yank_on over on X, at A Yank on the Footy podcast on Facebook, and Yank on the Footy on Instagram. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. And this has been episode 410. And cheers. Share it. Bye-bye till next time.